If you haven't been living under a rock lately, you've probably noticed that housing is one of the biggest talking points leading up to the upcoming election. And for good reason. Ask almost anyone and they'll tell you the cost of buying a home in this country is out of control. Whether you're in Toronto, Hamilton, or just about anywhere else, affordability has become a real issue. Now we have two potential frontrunners, Mark Carney with the Liberals and of course Pierre with the Conservatives, both offering their take on solutions to the housing crisis. So today I'm going to walk through both of their plans, what they are, what makes sense and what doesn't, and how it could affect you as a buyer or seller in the coming years. So if you've been sitting on the sidelines like many others deciding whether or not you should make a move within real estate, this video might just be the reason you start to do something, or not. As always, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Which direction do you think this country is going with the next election? My name is Morgan Little. I'm a realtor here in Hamilton and Toronto. If I can ever be of help in your journey, feel free to reach out, even if it's just to pick my brain. Book a call using the Calendly link below, or simply shoot me a text at 647-802-7626, and I'm happy to have a chat. Now let's start with Mark Carney and the Liberal housing plan, where the slogan seems to be build, build, build. They're saying that the government needs to get back to the business of building houses just like they did after World War II. And they're proposing a new government agency called Build Canada Homes. Sounds a lot like Doug Ford's More Homes Built Faster, doesn't it? The goal, 500,000 new homes per year over the next decade. This also sounds familiar. What might be slightly different though is the focus on prefab and modular housing, especially on public land, with $25 billion in financing to ramp up prefab housing production and $10 billion in low-cost loans to developers to build affordable homes. So basically, the feds almost want to step in directly as a developer to speed up construction and lower costs. And this also includes cutting development charges in half for multi-unit buildings, which has been hindering development by adding these massive costs, essentially making it near impossible for so many developers. But since these fees are set by municipal governments, the plan is for the federal government to cover these costs for the next 5 years. On top of that, they're reviving a tax policy called MERB, which stands for multi-unit residential building. This gives rental building owners a big tax break by letting them write off more of the property's value each year, with the goal here being to increase rental supply. So what's good here? Well, it's ambitious. The 500,000 homes really could move the needle, and with the speed and cost of prefab homes, in theory, that's a great idea as well. And if they're willing to invest this $25 billion, that does show that they're serious. But what's missing here is there's no real clarity on who really owns these homes once they're built. And will they be affordable to buy or just rentals? And of course, can the government actually execute at this scale? Their track record leaves me skeptical. Now let's talk about Poilievre and the Conservative slogan about hands off, let the market work, which is pretty much the opposite approach to Carney. He's saying the private sector builds homes better than the government ever will, so let's let them do that. And their plan includes eliminating GST on homes up to $1.3 billion. I did fail to mention about Carney that he's announced something similar where he will eliminate the GST on new homes for first-time home buyers up to $1 million, which is one of the few things that they have in common with their announcements. But back to the Conservatives, who plan to pressure municipalities to build more by cutting federal funding for those municipalities who don't increase their housing starts by 15%. And any that do exceed that target will get a bonus. The goal is to cut red tape and speed up building. Additionally, Poilievre recently announced that he would do something similar to what they do in the US called a 1031 exchange, which basically allows you to roll over any capital gains that you make on an investment as long as they go into another investment within a certain time period. This would allow someone to defer the taxes they would pay on that capital gains by putting it into another investment in Canada, growing the money for themselves and also keeping the money in our country. This could be a big incentive for anybody holding property that has been holding on to it because they're scared to pay capital gains taxes, especially with the big capital gains announcement that the Liberal government had talked about previously, increasing the taxable amount from 50 to 60 some percent over $250,000. That had a lot of people kind of sitting on the fence and not selling. They've since kind of rolled that back, but this new policy may incentivize people to start selling, thus creating more activity in the market and just creating more housing in general. So what's good about this plan? Well, it makes it attractive for private developers to actually build. As well as, like I mentioned, it encourages investors to reinvest within Canada because they'll be cutting costs for builders and then hopefully eventually home buyers as well. But what's missing? Well, most of the tax benefits will only benefit those who already have accumulated wealth. Whereas Poilievre does tout himself as a man of the people, this may not align with some people. And there's no real support here for first-time buyers or renters, which again kind of goes against his, working for the people thing. There's no direct role in the government building anything here, which, depending on who you are, may be a good thing or a bad thing. And it ties funding to performance, which really could hurt under-resourced municipalities. So, which one is better? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Honestly, neither is perfect. The Liberal plan is ambitious and hands-on, but risky. Depends heavily on whether the government can actually deliver on time and on budget, where the Conservative plan is really hands-off and betting on the private sector to solve the crisis. But it mostly benefits people who already own property and capital. Both sides are talking about supply, which is good, but neither really addresses demand, like immigration, speculation, or how average Canadians can actually afford to get into the market in the first place. So what should you do? Well, I wouldn't wait around for the perfect policy. No matter what happens, you have to do what's right for you. What I always tell people when they ask, is it a good time to buy? I say it is if you're ready, if you're in a position to do so. My honest opinion is that the market isn't going to come crashing down. So do with that what you will, but again, just do what's right for you and your family. Cut out all the noise, speak to someone who you resonate with, put a plan together, and take action. Or don't. That's up to you. Again, if I can ever be of help, feel free to book a call using the Calendly link below, or simply shoot me a text. I'm happy to have a chat. Till then, I'll see you on the next one.